Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Tales from the Fandom. Today, I am joined by a returning guest who is here almost a year exactly from his last podcast episode. Back in October of 2019, I was joined by Joshua, aka HylianDescent of the Hyrule Gaming Group, maybe one of the longest episode titles that I have had in my 4 years of podcasting. And he is back to talk with me today about some more conversation on games and Twitch and everything else. How are you doing today, Josh?
I'm doing very well. Very well. I appreciate the opportunity to be back here. How are you doing?
I am doing good. And listen, you're the one who you were on your Twitch channel and you're like, hey, I think we should do this again. I had put it on my radar of, check in with him in like a year and a half, 2 years, let him get some time and do whatever he's doing under his belt. And you were like, I want to do it again. I said, okay, I don't turn down people asking to come back.
Well, I'm glad you decided to bring me back on, because I was kind of excited to get a revisit. I love what you do here at the Tales from the Fandom podcast.
Well, thank you. I do have to. I want to revisit over the past year of stuff that's happened with you from my perspective, because I'm the outsider watching you generally at least 5 days a week on Twitch. Last we talked, because we recorded, I think in August or September for your October episode, you have made Twitch partner. Your community has grown by leaps and bounds, not only on the Discord side of things, but I don't want to be like the person that's like calling you out on Twitch about your viewership, but your viewership has exploded from where it was a little bit over a year ago to, I think at times, triple the viewership on a daily basis of watching you play your regular game at this point, Animal Crossing New Horizons. How are you feeling after? You succeeded on getting Twitch partner as a long push. The community came out and really supported you watching and doing the commenting and putting in the hours that we needed to get you to where you needed to be on the streaming side of things. Like, how does it feel to have accomplished that?
Honestly, I think it took me upwards to 3-4 months to really come to terms with all of it, because it happened only a month after the release of New Horizons, and that was clearly a big deal. Like, not only for me, for a lot of people in the Animal Crossing community, Twitch, and all over. And so the combination of the partnership, we got it actually February 26th, I believe. We call it HGG Day. And from there, it just, only a month after that, Animal Crossing comes out, and I decided to kind of really sink my teeth into that game, content creation wise, as well as in my free time. And, I pretty much lost 3 months there. I think kind of everybody did. And, I come out of that hole, and I finally came to terms with, everything around me and the partnership. I like that you noted that it was a team effort. This was way more than me when it came to the nitty-gritty, when it came to that grind. And so many people came out, and I think that's the most awe factor for me, is the amount of people that came out to support and then continue to support after the partnership. You hear kind of tales of partner fall off. Like that's what they would call it, in a sense, where the grind happens, the excitement's over, we move on. Mm-hmm. And our community stuck right there with us, and we've only gone up. And it's, as I said, let alone did it take me months to come to terms with it, it's hit a point to where I've finally accepted the whole journey. It took a couple months there to accept it all. I'm talking the whole year, everything that happened and how it happened, how fast, and my expectations. I remember I wrote down a list, a business plan, and I expected to have 20 average viewers by the end of my first year. That was my goal. That was my expectation. 20 average viewers, making $100 a month, and streaming part-time or maybe full-time alongside whatever job I had at the time. So I feel like that kind of says everything for where my head's at now compared to where it might have been, during that journey.
Absolutely. And not to mention, you left your job that you had at the time to really pursue the path to partner, as Twitch likes to call it, because I see it on my dashboard occasionally. I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm never going to see that at all. I can just hide that, but it's definitely something where you left the stable. Well, I don't know if I want to call it a stable job, but you left a job where you were getting a paycheck every week or every 2 weeks, versus relying on solely on the people watching you play video games.
Yeah, I think it was one of the scariest maneuvers I've made in my life so far. I won't lie to you. It took a lot more courage than I thought I had. And to clarify a little further on it, I got pushed a little. I had a falling out at the job, and that when I needed to make a decision. Sometimes you have those moments in life, I feel like you have a lot of experience in life, I can tell, and I feel like you kind of can understand that. You just have those moments where you have to make a decision, and I was essentially let go from the job, but I kind of pushed towards it. It was almost a mutual agreement,
Hmm.
and the 2 week went in, so it wasn't like a firing, but I pretty much was let go. But they gave me a 2 week grace period, and that was when I decided I can do this. I have the support, and I know that I can do this, even if it does take me skipping a meal or two. And I didn't have to do that, for the record, but it definitely was one of the scariest things that I ever caught myself doing. I've done some real stupid stuff, but I don't know if I had done anything that was that courageous, because doing something stupid versus something courageous like that, there's a little bit of a difference, just a subtle one.
There's a fine line between craziness and genius, right?
Yeah. Well said, well said.
One of the things that I find interesting, again, as a person that watches you, and I started off before I even reached out to you for the first podcast episode. I started off as somebody watching you play, interacting with you, interacting with the people in chat, the rest of the HGG family. One of the things that I find really remarkably interesting, and there are times, because I earn your channel points and I turn them in for gift subs, and there are a lot of times I cannot find anyone to give a gift sub to, because everyone in the chat, whether it's an average number of viewers, or sometimes, when especially in the recent times with Animal Crossing New Horizons, even with the couple hundred viewers you have, I can't find anyone to give a free sub to, because everyone is subbed.
It's that is just something that's so hard for me to come to terms with. On a little bit of a not so light note, it's kind of hard to take stuff in my life. It's kind of hard to be a quote unquote taker, as
Hmm.
I always relate it to Christmas. It was so hard for me to open gifts in front of people, because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to react. I didn't even want it. Of course, as a kid, you want stuff, but like when it's in that gift wrap, and that's kind of how it's presented on Twitch, it can be kind of hard to accept
Hmm.
that. So that has actually been one of the biggest battles becoming a caster, is like the idea that this is my livelihood, and seeing that is okay. Whereas there might have been a time where that same concept of seeing the chat just all subbed would almost be like overwhelming to an extent. It's crazy to think that we've come from dreaming of $100 a month to being able to run a business and sustain a business, and even start talking and toying about the idea of putting people on payrolls and LLCs, and it's become quite a thing, for sure.
One of the things that is interesting, especially because you started off, you always say you're a Nintendo. I think it's what Nintendo baby at heart with a variety streamer soul,
Yeah, variety gamer soul, close enough.
vari- variety gamer soul. One of the things that's interesting now is especially with the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch came out March 2017. We're what 4 months as we're recording this in July. We're 4 months removed from Animal Crossing New Horizons having been released, and it was released in probably the most perfect time for it to be released when everyone in the world is under a shelter in place or quarantine for the coronavirus pandemic. And you have this game that allows not only you to escape and relax and take your time day by day with it, but you have the ability to start communities yet again in this Animal Crossing world, and you have been streaming that game pretty much not 100%. I'd probably say like 60 to 75% since the release, just Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was just actually commenting on this the other day about how the first week of that game, I think I was doing 16-hour streams. I went back and looked at the records, and we streamed for like, I think 250, maybe pushing 300 hours that month.
Hmm.
The first month, like from the 20th to the 20th of the next month there, and it was pretty intense. We were kind of joking right before the start of the podcast about how we lost a couple months there. I think everybody did, because it was perfect timing. I mean, that game sold better, I think, than a lot of Nintendo games did on their release. I think that game broke a couple records. Definitely don't quote me there, but I know that at least broke records for Animal Crossing. So it made some moves. It made some strides, and really made some face in the Nintendo community. I feel like there's more Animal Crossers than there ever has been in my life, like ever. There's never been this many people interested in a game that I've been playing for 15 plus years. So it's interesting to see where it took the fandom itself, and it's interesting to see where it took us, and even where my mindset is now 4 months later, still as interested as I am, or as I was in the game, and still just as interesting or interested, but also still managing to stream it and create good content, and we're still growing from it. And that whole concept was something I didn't even would have never fathomed. If you would have asked me months ago if I were to be able to play the game the way I am now, with as much energy and excitement, and still you'd get off stream and load it up in my free time, I might have laughed at you just a little bit, because I didn't think I had it in me.
Right, because you stream Animal Crossing. There are days where you start at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for me, and you end sometimes between 2 or 3 o'clock. So you're streaming about 8 hours, 8 to 9 hours sometimes, and it's just Animal Crossing. And I know I've talked to people and I've told them, I generally watch or I'll have you on in the background for that entire time. And they're like, how can he play Animal Crossing for that extended period of time? Is and I'm like, like I hit the game maybe 20 minutes up to an hour daily, and that's all I have time for. And I'm like, yeah, but he's doing so much other stuff beyond just playing. Like he's visiting community members' islands, he's going island hunting or villager hunting, he's redoing something on the island, he's hosting these events for the community. And it's staggering to see what you are doing versus other streamers that are also streaming Animal Crossing.
I kind of agree with that. I think that from an outward perspective, Animal Crossing seems like a very cozy game to stream, and that's what it was for a lot of people, especially when it came out. The scene blew up on Twitch specifically, is what I'm commenting on here, and I mean, so many people was their cozy game. I need a day to relax. I'm going to play Animal Crossing, and it's funny because my mindset's so different. I want a day to succeed. I play Animal Crossing. I want a day to. This is my everyday. This is my go to, and that was people's side game. their relaxed game. And when I see other people kind of approach the game, I think everybody kind of gets caught up in that mindset. And as a caster, I feel like you could approach it from a different angle. You could approach it from the, almost from the RPG perspective, from the, collector, and some of those things that really call out from other games. I'm sure you've caught yourself collecting all the coins in a level in Mario, or, all the heart pieces in a Zelda game. Same concept in Animal Crossing. And if you kind of tap into some of the other elements that the game provides, aside from that relaxing escape, then you really can start stretching the game. I call it stretching content. And it's funny because it's something I've practiced since Animal Crossing GameCube. When I was streaming a game that was, 15 years old, to a category that no one was even looking for. And the best part about it was there was no multiplayer, nothing. And I kept people engaged, and I kept people coming back off a single player Animal Crossing. And that skill was something I practiced and honed, and I was able to apply that to New Horizons. And that's how I'm able to play that game for 8 hours some days. Yeah. I've learned how to stretch the game. I don't need the multiplayer to play it. That's why we have our Mondays where I just sit around and hang out with my villagers like I'm at my dude's house. And we just chill. It's because I've learned that that's what you got to do. You got to really make a point to stress the aspects of the game that people kind of overlook. How many people do you see stream that game that skip through the dialogue? And if you ask yourself that question and then come to my stream, and you'll see you'll rarely catch me skipping a word of dialogue, because Animal Crossing is a dialogue based game. And to ignore that is to ignore, in my opinion, the richest aspect that it provides. Dialogue, conversation, imagination provoking things, having you think about the fact that your friend's island might serve souffles, and you're just being silly and you're being imaginative. That's the kind of stuff that the game brings to the table. It's a lot of people ignore that, and they try to approach it like a regular video game. And I feel like there's a lot more. This game has a lot of charm to it.
It absolutely does. It's one of those things, not only with Animal Crossing, because Animal Crossing has always had that charm dating back to the original release, at least stateside on the GameCube.
Right.
And it's one of the questions that I've seen pop up on other people's streams is, why is Animal Crossing so popular? What do people get out of it? And it's like, I think, and even my wife at times, my wife watches me play, but she doesn't play. But she used to play the GameCube version with me, and she told her sister, she's like, it looks funny watching it if you're not into it, if you're not like really paying attention to what's going on. But she was like, it's a very relaxing game. You're not like trying to win. There's nothing to like, if you don't achieve something today, you can achieve something tomorrow. I mean, you're really just, you take it at your own pace, and it's not something where, you know what, I didn't do all that I needed to do today, I've got tomorrow.
It's beautiful, and it's not a feeling you can get from every type of video game. And I respect that gaming has evolved, and that's like kind of a cool like mini little segue there. Boo, 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 boo. But gaming has gone from being just a form of entertainment solely to providing the same things that the other giant forms of media provide: books and movies and television. They provide so much more depth. They can make you cry, happy, smile, feel good, feel bad, whatever. Gaming does that now. And it might have been doing that for years, but it's being acknowledged for more than just playing a game. Playing a game, sometimes people misconcept that as having fun, being entertained, in that sense that you have to be enjoying every second of it. Gaming is past that. And Animal Crossing might be a good example of a game that you can just sit there and enjoy and relax. But if you look at a lot of the strides that gaming has made over the past few years, it's out there doing a lot more than just making people smile, or helping you escape from the day. Sometimes you pick up a game to really feel things kind of the same way that I pick up a book, you know?
Absolutely. One of the things that I want to ask you about, because you are a Nintendo person at heart. I grew up with Nintendo. I've had everything except for the Wii U. I skipped that because I just wasn't playing games at the time. And we're at a really interesting, I would almost call it a crossroads for Nintendo yet again, because this year the PlayStation 5 and the new Xbox. I think they're calling it the Series X. I'm not too sure, but the new systems are coming out. The Switch came out 3 years ago. I can only assume with Nintendo that we'll keep having the Switch for at least another 3 years. But with Animal Crossing in particular, ever since they've had it come out, we've been getting updates, and bless Nintendo's heart. I love them for it, because I'm so happy that I have not had to pay for an Animal Crossing DLC, that they just keep adding to the game. Granted, some of the stuff that they've added was stuff in the 3DS version, but now we have it.
Right.
And like, I almost wonder, is Animal Crossing New Horizons, is this going to be the game that even if they release another system, will they just keep building off of New Horizons and go from there? Even if they release a new console in 3 years and 4 years and 5 years, will that just be, let's add onto it, let's add a new texture pack, let's keep adding stuff like what you've been talking about in stream, about like possible, like a business island where you get to go
Yeah.
shopping or stuff like that. Like, what do you see for Nintendo and for Animal Crossing with New Horizons, and where it's at currently?
Honestly, I can't help but reflect or you look back a little bit and see what they did with New Leaf on the 3DS title. And if you look at that title, it came out to the States, I believe, in 012, 013, and it took them up towards to 5 or 6 years to do the biggest update to the game. It was a complete, addition, kind of an overhaul. They added a bunch of stuff, changed a couple things, and then that rode out for a couple more years. And then here we are at New Horizons, almost 8 years later, basically seven,
Hmm.
7, 8 years. And I see that same thing for New Horizons. I'm looking at a 10-year pipeline. I don't know if they mentioned this publicly. Somebody had said this to me. Could just be like speculation, but people have told me that Nintendo said 5 years of updates planned for Animal Crossing. And I can't at all. I don't have any kind of fact checker on that, but it still gives you an idea. We're looking at a pipeline of updates and development. And even if they do step away from the Switch, I feel like the Switch will be one of the pillars to Nintendo's success over these next 10 years. The same way that they like to balance a handheld and a main console, maybe the Switch will be balanced alongside the next Nintendo gen, and they keep the Switch as that slightly handheld, maybe less powerful, more affordable option for people. But like you said, still updating some of their biggest titles on it, like Animal Crossing, because this game ain't going anywhere. And I wasn't expecting a game this powerful for the Animal Crossing franchise. I really wasn't. I had a lot of expectations for the game, but I missed the release of New Leaf, and that was a downport for me. I came from the Wii. They had a game called City Folk. It was a Wii title, kind of old, but it was the big TV, TV console.
Hmm.
And then when New Leaf came out, they ported it down to a 3DS, and I personally didn't like that. As I get older, I didn't like the smaller screens. I wanted my big TVs. I wanted my controllers in my hand, and I wanted to relax while I gamed, and not all the way feel scrunched up, or I didn't really game on the go anymore as much, and I kind of stepped away from the handheld life. So this game really brought even more to the table for me, because it gave me that big, larger than life feel again on the television. And all of a sudden, there's all these updates, and the game is just growing and changing. And I start thinking about where they could take the game from here, and how different the game might even look in 5 years. We might have a completely different game by the end of Nintendo's, update pipeline. And that's exciting to think about. And it could all be free, as you mentioned. They said that there would be no paid DLC for Animal Crossing. They did mention that early on. Whether or not they stick with that is a whole nother story. But I could see them maybe doing one big DLC expansion someday. Other than that, I think we're looking at a pretty solid game that they're going to be taking care of. They know how much this game has exploded. I mean, like you said, perfect timing. I don't think Nintendo could have asked for a better blessing, in a sense, as kind of, rough as the whole situation was in general. They really did kind of make out in some ways. So
Yeah, it's definitely some. In fact, one of the things that I found interesting, because I have a number of like different streaming, uh I have like an Elgato on my Amazon wish list. I have one, but it's like one of the older ones.
right.
I have podcast mics on my Amazon wish list. I have like just a variety of stuff. And when people started getting locked down, those things got sold out. I started seeing people who had never streamed before starting up Twitch channels and starting to stream and starting to do stuff, because most of the people that I was seeing do that, either they couldn't go to work and they had to find something to do, and here's Twitch. You have now a even more captive audience to potentially go after. And then of course Animal Crossing just exploded. So there were times where my Twitch dashboard was just probably, of the people I followed, 9 out of 10 playing Animal Crossing at any
Yeah.
given time.
I mean, I remember that. It was crazy. Like I follow a lot of people. I really get out there and support. And I'm talking even the streamers. I had streamers that play like chess, like for a living, grandmasters playing Animal Crossing. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, is this game really doing this? And it's cool to note this. I just randomly thought of this. How crazy is Twitch for the help and the exposure of games? I wonder how much success can be attested to that captive audience, stumbling across Animal Crossing, taking over the whole website, and then going and shelling out the dough themselves to be a part of the big next thing. It's crazy to think that Twitch and other platforms like this might have way more of an effect on game sales as we progress this journey here that gaming is taking and the industry is taking. It's like, wow, Animal Crossing really showed me like the power of this platform. And then of course, you got to wash all the variables away from it. There was a lot going on, but I still feel like it was a testament to like a hive mind situation, almost like you said. 9 out of 10 for me. It might have been 10 out of 10. It was really crazy.
I know from me personally, following a number of different people, is that I think the one of the things that's a hard sell about Animal Crossing is, if you've not played it before, you don't really know what you're getting into. And with being able to watch people stream it on Twitch, I know people who went out and found, whether it was regular Switches or the Switch Lights, and picked up Animal Crossing because they watched streamers stream Animal Crossing and got into it so much that they wanted to be a part of it too.
Right. I mean, I can say proudly that there's been a number of people who have, whether saying it lightly as a joke or completely serious, that I was the reason that they even tried it, picked it up. Now they're addicted. Now they're in love with the series. They never played an Animal Crossing ever, but they saw the genuine enjoyment that I was having with the game, and they were like, "There's something to this," and that's the beauty of Twitch, and I guess that's the benefit for the gaming industry. That if there's enough exposure in that category, if there's enough people engaged with that game or that genre, whatever, it really does help. I still to this day look at the Animal Crossing category. I'd like to say this: when I was streaming Animal Crossing GameCube, Wild World, City Folk, New Leaf, we did all the 4 mainline titles. I never had a category bigger than about 500 viewers ever. Even before the release of New Horizons, the biggest New Leaf ever got was about 800 to 1,000, and that was within the month of the release. And to this day, that category never goes lower than 2,000 people, and that's like right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think you saw, I mean, we broke almost 200,000 people on the release of that game in this category. On a good day, there's 5, 6, 7,000, 10,000 people watching. Go ahead and hit a DLC day, and all the streamers come back for a day or two, and
Mm-hmm.
there's 10,000 people watching the game. 500 people 5 months ago. That's New Horizons. That's what it did to the Animal Crossing community. Here I was hanging out with the same people, the same casters for a year. We all knew each other. It was like a little tight-knit community. I knew you, you watched me, I watched you, your viewers watched me, my viewers watched you. We all love Animal Crossing. And it's this thing now. It's like we watched our baby grow up overnight. It's bing, it's an 18-year-old. Oh, what?
With you streaming Animal Crossing so much, how have you balanced not only like I know, especially now, like after you, as we have mentioned, like after 3 or 4 months, we're kind of like coming out of the Animal Crossing groundhog hole, and they're like, "Hey, what else is out here?" Um, how do you balance that as a streamer, especially because I know there are days where you get really into it, and you're like, you know what, I was supposed to play a game, and I'm just going to play this. Like, how do you balance it for you, not only as you the player who wants to maybe play something else, but you as the streamer having to like I guess I are do you feel beholden sometimes to the viewers of like, oh, just keep going, play Animal Crossing, or do you have that line where you're like, okay, you know what, I am going to switch, I want to try something else?
I think from a streamer's perspective, at least from my little bit of wisdom on this platform so far, about a year and a couple months here, that's the hardest battle for a caster. And a lot of times when I go to give advice and help fellow casters out, that's one of the biggest struggles for them, is wanting to doing what they want to do versus what's best for their business or best for their stream, their viewers, etc. And that you struggle to find that balance. For me, I never intended to become a full-time Animal Crossing streamer. I actually tried to fight it. Before we got our partnership, I wouldn't let people call me an Animal Crossing streamer. I can note a moment where I showed up in a stream, and I don't exactly remember what caster it was. It was somebody from Club Tort, and they were like, you know, HylianDescent, Hyrule Gaming Group, they're Animal Crossing streamers. And I was in the chat kind of like, no, no, Nintendo, stop that. And like, because I didn't want to fall into one game or be quote unquote stuck, kind of, as you said, maybe at the mercy of the viewership of the business, whatever. And as I progressed, I started realizing that for me, this was a good thing. It took the release of New Horizons, and it took me sitting down and looking at my schedule and trying to find the balance between consistency and I looked and I was staring and I said, having the the comfort to know that when I wake up in the morning or when I start my stream that day, I'm going to be doing the consistent, the comfortable thing for me that day, you know. And my streams, I do mix up my content in the afternoon, and some days I might even play something different. But because of that consistency, that comfort, that habit, it helps my brain. You know, as humans, we love that stuff. It's a routine. There's the word. Because of that routine, it's become a really, really healthy thing for me in my streaming, and I never would have considered that. I would have never considered that putting myself into that potential pigeonhole, that potential, I believe I'm using that little like phrase right there, but that potential lockdown, like this is my identity. I am an Animal Crossing streamer, and if I pull away from this, I might lose viewers, I might lose money, you know, all that negative, nasty stuff that you don't really like to think about as a streamer. But you gotta think about it. You gotta think about the numbers and the revenue, but you don't like to. And I realized that allowing myself to find a consistent home in a game was one of the most comforting things I ever did for myself as a caster. I have freedom to breathe, to know that I have a foundation, I have a home that when I could stretch out and play other stuff, but when I come back to Animal Crossing, my Animal Crossers will be there, my community will be there, and it's just a really comfortable thing. And I really do stress that it was never an intention. I don't think that I made the actual official call until about a month or two ago. I officially announced to the stream that I was going to play Animal Crossing every day. and, and from there, I've felt really good about it. So it's really hard to find that balance. And I think that when I stopped playing Animal Crossing in my free time, to touch back on that, because I rambled a little, that helped. That helped. I did actually have to stop playing the game as much in my free time. So there is compromises to make as a caster, is the lesson there. I had to eventually say, okay, there's no freaking way I'm going to be able to still continue to enjoy this game as much as I would like to for my viewers and for my content, while also still loading this up every freaking night or day. So almost 95% of my Animal Crossing is all on stream now. And that was one of the biggest changes I had to do. Animal Crossing is almost out of my personal gaming catalog now. And that's just my stream game. And if you think about that, I know you've done a little streaming and stuff yourself. It's almost like I had to separate it. It's like I still have just as much fun. It's still a video game to me. It doesn't really pull too much away from it, but it also still kind of labels it as my job game. Like, you know, it's my job game. It's really weird. It's such a hard concept to wrap your head around as a gamer and as someone who wants this to be an organic thing. The amount of people that have told me to, you know, never stop having fun and do what you want. I'll tell you, the first thing I learned from watching other streamers grow and progress is that you gotta make compromises. You can't just always do what you want. If I would have did what I wanted as a caster through this whole situation, you guys would have seen a lot more Mega Man, a bunch of World of Warcraft. That would have been awkward. And I mean, Metal Gear Solid would have already been on the stream, Skyrim, Fallout. You know, I am a versatile gamer, but in time I'll get to do that. But for now, my business called for consistency, and here we are.
I want to ask you about something that happened a couple weeks ago, and I'm just curious about how you felt every day, because for a 5-day period, generally about 7 to 8 hours a day, you were doing a Genji hunt. And the community came out to watch as you essentially loaded. It was basically, you'd get to your airport in New Horizons, go on a mystery tour, see who is there, turn right back around. And it was to the point of, it was like I said, 5 days, a 7 to 8 hour period every day, until you found Genji at over 1,000 Nook Mile tickets at that point. When you stopped streaming on day 1 or day 2, like, did you think it was going to go that long? Like, were you bummed after every day? And you know, like, what was it like doing that, where you're just and it's not grinding where you're like engaged, like it's not really that you're engaged with the game, you're engaged more with the community watching you. But what was it like every day after that? Like, as you wrapped up, you ended stream, like, were you just like, oh man, like I got to do this again tomorrow? Were you looking forward to doing it? Like, were you going to just keep going? Because I know there were times where people were like, okay, you should just stop and take whoever you found. So I'm just curious, like, your mindset as you were going through that.
I'll be honest, my plan had nothing to do with that journey. And if you kind of remember, I even had a schedule to play Pokemon and stuff that week, and everything got thrown to the wind because of this Genji hunt. It took over the whole stream. I'm still backed up on stuff to this day from that dude. I was not ready. And I had all these schedules and plans, and it all just got washed away because of Genji. But my mindset was, okay, I got 100 tickets somebody gave me. It'll take 50, whatever. Day 2, okay, I expected it might take more than one day. I did. So this is actually good for the content. And I want to bring that up because I don't really talk about this stuff too often. I feel like it's really hard to get opportunities besides for back of the house stuff and like close friends to talk about some of the harder parts of Twitch. And, you know, I mentioned this once about how much mental stress the partner grind put on me, thinking about all those numbers and stuff. So to stay on topic, the community coming out was phenomenal. It had me ecstatic. Like the second day, I started seeing just this huge increase of viewership, and I was like, what is happening? I asked myself, do people like this? Like I wouldn't, you know, I'm a pretty entertaining person. Occasionally I like to feel, you know, I don't get too egotistical. I stay pretty humble, but I feel like I do my best to make it an entertaining situation and a good atmosphere. So I could see why people would like it. But I was like, this is kind of a thing. So the third day I came back and I was ready. I was like, okay, this is taking longer than expected, but we're getting a lot of viewership out of this. You can't help but think about it. You know, this is my career. And so I was excited the third day. You know, the fourth day comes in. And this is the day where we started doing 200 tickets a day. And the fourth day, I'm starting to be worn down. I remember saying to Beatles, like, dude, this is kind of cool. And he replies, quote, man, Genji, where are you? You need to get found. Like, darn Genji, you know, maybe a paraphrase. And I replied, I think it's okay if I never find him. Word for word. I'm like, this is amazing. The view, this is good content. We're having fun. People are engaged. My viewership is growing out of nowhere. Like, let's keep it going. Fourth day ends. You know, I go into the fourth day, get out of the fourth day, fifth day, 200 more tickets. I'm getting mentally exhausted. I'm getting tired, but the community is keeping me alive. The energy was getting just out of the world. There was a point in time where we capped up to like 300 and close to 350 viewers. I think higher than we ever had besides for like a time with like a mega raid. And I just remember being in awe. Like, this is this a thing? Like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that it was a thing. And I realized over that week that it's essentially shiny hunting. And that's a thing. And this all makes sense. It took the week, it took the experience to realize why it was a thing. I was in awe the whole time, thinking it was boring content and there was nothing going on and people didn't like to watch that. And it all started clicking in place. How do people sit there and watch casters run back and forth in a field hatching eggs? It's the same concept. And I was like, okay, you know, the caster gets to engage with their viewers. We chat, we chill, we relax, we live the drama together. And then at the end, we all get to celebrate together. And it was actually 6 days. And on the 6th day, Genji rolls in, and what an experience. I will tell you that going into the 6th day, I was actually a little stressed because I didn't want to go into a fresh week still hunting. I didn't, dude. I was burnt out. I needed a day off. I realized that I accidentally streamed 9 days in a row because I started the hunt 3 days into my week. So by the end of the hunt, not only was I tired from doing the same thing every day, essentially, and this like repeat process, being burnt out from Genji not showing up, the craziness from the stream, I was 9 days deep. 9 days back to back, as you said, 7, 8, 9. One day was a 10-hour stream. And so, you know, if you saw the clip, it's actually almost our highest watched clip ever now, even over the partner clip. And if you saw it or if you were there for it, you'll see that's where all of that came from. That excitement, that explosion, that was 9 days of just pent up energy, and I was tired, and it was pretty freaking crazy. I'm actually really happy you brought that up because it didn't even come cross my mind, to be honest. I'm still kind of reliving that every day as I see Genji in my town. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
One of the things that I experienced yesterday was I was watching a streamer that I watch on the weekends, and she had started her hunt. And she doesn't stream Animal Crossing, but once on the weekend. So she does like a Saturday, Sunday, Monday stream set. And she had like 100 Nook Mile tickets. She's like, I'm looking for one of these like 10 people or 10 animals, and she found one of the ones that was on her list within like 15 tickets, and she started crying. And it was just like, it is such a, like a great thing to witness and to see. Just, you're finding one of these 300 plus animals where you get repeats so many times, like especially with you, like we could have probably kept a counter of how many times you ran across certain ones and were like, oh gosh, it's them again. Like
Yeah.
it's just incredible to see like the effect of finding the animals that you want to live on your island in your game, to be there with you, and just coming across and find them and being like, I have the person I want, I have that animal.
And it's such a new concept to Animal Crossing. And that, I think, is also one of the exciting things for me personally, because this is a lot of people's first Animal Crossing game. And I think it's for a lot of people, it's hard for you to fathom that what this game did for the franchise. If you're out there and you're listening and this is your first time picking up Animal Crossing, it's this game did everything that we dreamed of for years. For years and years and years, the concept of Animal Crossing got better, and we were always hoping and dreaming, back in forums days, oh, what if threads? What if they did this to the game? And this game is like a culmination of all of those dreams. And I seriously mean that. This game is a dream in reality form for Animal Crossers, people who have been playing the game for years. And that villager hunting was never something. Nope, nobody ever thought of it. No one ever even considered that to be a thing. And it's so cool. It's so cool. What a cool concept. What a cool idea. What a way to keep you feeling engaged. Like you said, that feeling of not only getting the villager that you want out of those hundreds, but interacting and seeing old friends, old flames, hey, I haven't seen you in 3 years. How you doing, buddy? And it just adds such a cool element to the hunts as well. I remember one of the days during the Genji hunt, I told everyone in the Discord earlier that I was going to focus on talking to the villagers the whole day. That's what we did. The whole day I chatted with everyone. I made voices for them, and I would try to give them personalities and talk them up, because that was one of the elements of the villager hunting I felt that was worth pursuing and diving into.
So here we are a year later, and I know we had talked about on the podcast last year what your goals were with Hyrule Gaming Group, not only just as you being the essential face to begin with on Hyrule Gaming Group, but that in the future you were hoping to have other streamers also be on Hyrule Gaming Group streaming like blocks of entertainment, blocks of games, blocks of whatnot on the channel alongside like whatever they may do on their own Twitch channel. Is that still something that you're aiming for? Because I've noticed that like Beatles has started streaming in the evenings on his channel. I've noticed that a few other people in the chat family have also started streaming on their own channels. You have the HGG family of the stream partners, and I'm just curious, like, is that still the plan at some point in the future? Maybe not like this year, but next year, if there's a timeline of Hillian streams from 7 to 3, and then at 3:30, a 30-minute break or something, someone pops in and starts streaming their stuff.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things I went back and I listened to today, one of the tidbits I caught from the old podcast. And I instantly thought to myself, I bet you we'll talk about this. And you know, I tend to dream big a lot of times, or a better way to phrase that would be sometimes I make unrealistic goals sometimes. And
Hmm.
I did make kind of unrealistic goal. I had one. It seemed realistic at the time, kind of situation, to get people on the stream by summer this year that just passed. We're in it right now. So to kind of shed light on that, our plan going into New Horizons was give me 3-4 months to just take over New Horizons and just do nothing but just stream that game. And then after that, that's June, we were going to start toying with the idea of maybe building a schedule within our team and maybe start getting other faces, start figuring out exactly the requirements and all those, nitty gritty details. So it didn't work out the way I had intended. And I think that was part of, I ended up realizing it was a little unrealistic. Not everyone was ready. Maybe I wasn't all the way ready to hand over the keys, so to speak.
Hmm.
And I I really think that's the only part of this journey that I would say if you were to ask me, if there was a negative or something you felt like you could have did better kind of talk, that would be it. That's the one thing on the journey that I have yet to fully implement. And yes, 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 I still have the same intentions that I had before. It seems like it's starting to wind down to Beatles and I to start things off. Beatles and I have been talking a lot, and we feel like starting off with one other person to slowly introduce other people to the channel, get people used to the idea of different content and different faces. And who better else than my right hand man in the equation? We're starting to hand out titles. My COO, right next to me. And I decided not only do we live together, but we could create an organic environment within our own household, but also within the stream and within the platform, the Discord, all that stuff. So that is actually our plan right now to shed some light on that. We're working on getting Beatles into that seat. And once Beatles starts to get comfortable, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw the Panberry and maybe a couple other known names in our community, that those community leaders that would be the first prime candidates for the situation to stream on our channel is what we're speaking on here. So the plan is still in the works. The plan is still there. I think that it was a little unrealistic to expect me to be able to set all that up by the summer. And I think none of us were expecting the past, 4 months. Not to go too deep, but what a whirlwind these 4, 5, 6 months have been. My personal life, the world, everything. So I think as things start to calm down, you will definitely start to see us going back towards that plan, allowing me the freedom to stress less about the exposure a little bit. I think that it'll be the healthiest thing ever for the channel to have someone locking down different time slots and getting different styles of content. I built this channel off the idea of variety.
Hmm.
And I think that is something I don't want to lose. I want people to know that they're not only coming to Hyrule Gaming Group for Animal Crossing. I know that that's what I do, but I would really love to keep continuing pursuing that dream, to have my channel be known for variety. Maybe I am known for Animal Crossing, but I want Hyrule Gaming Group to be known for gaming, for variety
Hmm.
gaming, providing different styles of content, maybe even getting to the points where we have musicians and that kind of stuff going on, artists. This is not limited to gaming. And so I really do still have those same dreams. And it's funny thinking back that I as we started ramping up, I started really getting into the groove, and I had all these crazy plans and stuff that I wanted to nail down as soon as the partnership happened. And I think that I didn't expect the amount of energy that that partnership really took. You know, from an outward perspective, it might just seem like you know, you're acquiring some kind of achievement, some digital thing, you know, blah, yada yada yada. But at the end of the day, I think it took me 2-3 months to just recover from the partner grind in general, the partnership.
Hmm.
You know, it took me months to finally get back into the driver's seat. I was like floating, just kind of lost at sea, playing Animal Crossing and not really existing. So it's nice to be back into the swing of things. You know, to be back approaching this the way I was. So nose to the grindstone that first 9 months to a year. So it's nice to look back and see, like, okay, those goals didn't work out quite the way I wanted. Let's reassess them, reapply them, and go from there with a foundation that's way bigger than we ever expected, way more solid. You know, we're standing on concrete right now. And I'll be honest, I was expecting some sand, some silt a year in. You know, I didn't think I'd be able to say that I could stand firm. I'm a big guy.
One of the things, because normally when I do these podcast episodes, we talk about a number of like different fandoms, and we kind of jump around. And one of the things that we talked about before we got started was when you're a streamer on Twitch, you're streaming on Twitch. You're playing the video game, whether it's Animal Crossing, whether it's Story of Seasons that just came out, whether it's a Legend of Zelda game, whatever you just happen to be playing at that point. But when you're off of Twitch, you told me, or at least when you're off of streaming, what you're doing is that you're still on Twitch, but as a viewer or as a person that's going into other streamers' channels.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really put in perspective how much time I spent on Twitch until I realized how much time other casters don't. And within our small community, it doesn't seem that way. We have a lot of people that really do support each other and get in those chats and really make a point. I'm sure you see everyone everywhere, all within each other's channels and chats and supporting, and it's a beautiful thing. But I realized, like, on a bigger level, and it's not always like that. And this is actually a cool little story. To just today or yesterday in stream, somebody asked me live. They heard me mention I watch a lot of Twitch, and they said, "What kind of casters do you watch?" And I brought up some of my favorite casters, and I kind of got into it. I can get wordy. And by the end of it, they said, "Wow, it's so cool to see that you get off of Twitch and you stop streaming and you don't just get off of Twitch, that you become a viewer, that you step back down off that, you know, quote unquote pedestal or whatever that can be sometimes applied to a streamer." And I step down from the streamer seat, and I go right back into the viewer seat and engage and interact and laugh. And some streams I lurk, sometimes I say hi. And like I said, I have my favorites. I have my streamers that I'm a crushing on, you know, whatever. I'm sure right along with everyone else that considers himself a pretty regular viewer of Twitch. So it's crazy to think how much time I spend on Twitch when you put it all together. I think that I will say it's a testament to how much I don't necessarily do in my free time. I'm kind of a hermit. I'm a homebody. So it's a little bit easier for me. Maybe for those, I respect those out there that can manage jobs and relationships and kids and streaming. Whereas I live a simple life. I'm a streamer. And when I get off streaming, I have all my time to myself. And I personally dedicate that time giving back to Twitch and to my viewers and to my fan base and the people that come and support Hyrule Gaming Group, not just me, because where else should my time go? In my opinion, you know, and maybe this is coming from a guy, as I said, who doesn't have a lot on his plate. So respect to all the streamers that don't have the time to do what I do. And that's kind of my point. Maybe not everyone can do that, but I will say that I'm pretty proud that I do get to to mingle in the Twitch world a lot more than I guess other people do.
It is one of those things where when you're streaming, you shout out, or the mods will shout out a number of different people that come in, whether they're streamers or whatnot. And I can confidently say, because generally speaking, I'll go give them a follow and check out their content, and it's all good. It's all like the people that you recommend, whether they are smaller streamers, larger streamers, whether they play games totally different than from what you are playing, I enjoy them as much as I enjoy watching you during the mornings. And just getting to interact with them and their communities, and it's fun. It's fascinating. I was actually in somebody's stream the other day, and I clicked on, oh, who else is here? And I was like, Hylian's here, like he's in chat. What's he doing here? But I saw your name up there, and I was like, okay. But it's such a fascinating, and I've talked about it with Spartan. I've talked about with Hyrule Holly. I think I even talked about with Rosie Poo, about that your channel is like the I don't want to call it like the tree, but then all of these, like you're propping up all these other trees around you, and these other streamers in these other communities that might not necessarily be your community, but it's their community. But like your roots, or the roots of some of their community came from Hyrule Gaming Group, and it's fascinating to watch them stream, watch them in chat in your stream. It's such a I almost want to call it like a symbiotic relationship of all of these streamers are all like, you're all in the same pond, but you're all helping each other grow, um as streamers, whether or not you're streaming.
It's well said. I mean, and that's something I've kind of as a concept wanted to provide with Hyrule Gaming Group, and it took me until this past 2 months to start identifying how successful we've been, and at providing something similar to that along those lines. It might not be fully fleshed out, but it's happening organically. It's happening naturally, and it really does blow my mind. And I think that it's a testament to Twitch never needing to be an unhealthy competition. It is okay to have a healthy competition, to have someone that helps you grow. Yes, I see you being successful. I want to be successful. Help drive me. Tailwind. But to think that it needs to be, that person's my competitor. Anytime I had that mindset, I broke away from it. Anytime I met a caster that streamed at the exact same time as me, I caught myself thinking, oh, should I support them? I said, stop that. Support them. Why not? Because at the end of the day, and maybe not everyone can say this, I do count my blessings. I have the ability to build, and I've built already, and I know that I have enough of a foundation that it's okay. It's never going to be a problem. I don't think it was ever gonna be a problem. Maybe when I was very small, when you had to worry a little bit more about that kind of stuff, and I respect that. But where we've come and where we are right now, that's something I'm happy to say I would never let myself think, and I never have to think about, because you don't have to put yourself in that position where you are thinking that person is taking away from my success. We are not crabs in a barrel. I'm sure you've heard that one. We aren't pulling each other back down. It doesn't have to be that way. And I feel like if it's all perspective. So I really like that you called that out. Such a symbiotic, it's such an organic relationship that happens if you just let it happen. And that's the advice to anybody out there who's aspiring, to cast or to create content. Don't stray away from networking and meeting people and growing alongside other content creators. This isn't a one person show. Sure, there's a lot of casters on Twitch that kind of own it all, those big boys. But look what we've done. And I can safely say we pretty much came from zero. We had our little group, our Discord, but I had 0 followers on Twitter. Our YouTube was 0. Our Instagram was 0. And look at us now. And we never once hit a point to where we said we can't support you because you're too close to us. You play Animal Crossing too. And so I feel like if anything, we're a walking testament to that perspective, that it you don't have to look at things negatively when it comes to competitors and stuff, because that's what we are. There's no reason to overlook that. We are competing in some ways, but it could be healthy.
I have 2 questions left for you. The first question is, I've noticed, and this might be just something, again, me looking from the outside in, but I've noticed a number of people within the HGG family, whether it's streamers or whether it's just people in the chat, changing their Twitch name to also include HGG. And I'm curious, like, how do you feel about that? Are you like, that's really cool, I love that they're so into like the Hyrule Gaming Group that they're changing their name? Do you worry sometimes about them maybe streaming and then like the content that they're putting out might not be like reflective of you, and then you get kind of like, I kind of wish that they hadn't? Like, where do you fall on that? And it is, and if you're not comfortable, I totally understand. I'm really curious about that.
To be honest, my first reaction was uneasy, for all the reasons you just said. And this was all the way back a year ago. The phenomenon, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know where it all started. The phenomenon of people deciding to rep us, to represent us, to call this place home. And that is what I want to touch on. Is, for as uneasy as I was, I realized what was happening. I realized that the reason that people were feeling inclined to change their name to represent us was because they wanted to call this place home. They wanted to help this community grow. They were identifying that this was bigger than me, Hylian, and they wanted to be a part of that bigger picture. And I have so much respect for that I could never look negative on it. Like I said, I was a little uneasy. And even if there ever was a understanding, if someone misrepresented us in a chat and somehow it fell on us, I would do everything I could to handle it appropriately, but I would never let it change my mindset towards that phenomenon. Because I call it that because it kind of just started happening, and then before we knew it, we had a lot of family that were repping us in that way. And if you think about how cool that is, it kind of takes away any kind of negative connotation towards it, because it's such a cool. It all started with Gigi. I want to call that out because she changed her name to Hyrule Gigi, Gigi, and that first time was the time that it was uneasy. I was like, wow, it was a gesture that I almost couldn't accept. Wow, you want to represent us, me, this way? And then from there, when it happened again and again, I started realizing that this was a positive thing. This was a way for people to feel even more involved with our community. And it's hard to look at that any other way but positively.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Last question. We're a year out from your last episode. We talked about some of the things that you hit, which you hit partner. You've got the increased growth. You're a full-time streamer. You have plans to start making the channel potentially a 2-person stream with you and Beatles, going back and forth as far as like time slots go. What do you have on your business plan now? Like what are some of the things now that you're looking forward to growing, whether it's with you personally or with Hyrule Gaming Group as the group?
So I remember when we got our partnership, somebody asked, what's the next game? What's the next game plan? Where are we going? And my thought rolling into the first year and or out of the first year into the second year, my thought was, and my comment in stream live was, I'm going to solidify the foundation we've built this next year. And to kind of stress on that, that's what I focused on. We are pushing 1.5 years here. We're getting there. And I think that this whole rest of the year is going to be nothing but giving back to the community that helped us along this year, solidifying this foundation and nurturing the viewership and the community that we have. This is where you see these events coming from. This is where you see this mindset and the things that we're doing with Animal Crossing. I want to nurture this community. I want to give back to this community. I want this community to feel taken care of and to know that I'm going to be here for years to come and that they can safely call this place home if they so wish. That is one of my biggest goals and plans as we roll into this second year. And personally, health. I will tell you, I have actually not been as unhealthy as I am right now ever. I don't think. I just spent a year sitting and it shows. And I think that by the end of this year, I want to do everything in my power to break away from that unhealthy lifestyle. I do not have to be a streamer and be unhealthy. I can be active, I can find balance, and I can turn this into a long-winded career that not only has it already impacted my life in so many ways positively, but continue to help me and impact my life. And I want health to be a part of that. When I say health, I mean physical and mental health, spiritual, the trifecta, the temple. That's what I like to call it. I want to focus on my temple. That is actually the two things that my this year I want to go into the second year having figured out, balanced. Is I want our foundation to be so solid that we look back and we know, we know exactly where we are, where we can go, what we can do. I don't want there to be any questions rolling into the second year. And I also want myself to be tip-top health. I have plans to travel. To the third comment there is I want to start stretching our brand to the floor, to the ground. And what a bad time for me to want to do that, eh? So we will be hopefully going into the second year, which would be next April, starting to hit the PAXs and the Twitch cons, and hopefully that kind of stuff starts coming back, and we can really get out there and show people that we're not just here behind the screen. Then, and if you're in your area, come say hello. Let's go do that dinner date that I owe you, all 35 of you. So yeah, that's the plans, that's the goals, and I have lots. I could talk about my 5-year plan all day. And we have a lot. I really have a battle plan, but I like to focus on the little goals. And is kind of a blanket and almost not all the way fair answer for the foundation thing. I feel like it still kind of sums up my goal. And the many things that I'll be doing to help solidify that foundation is exactly the examples I stressed. Stuff like the events and not only in game, but out of game events. Starting to do more and more with my community. We've talked about cooking streams, real life streams, getting my equipment even better, getting a new computer. That's what I mean by solidifying my foundation. Getting all of those things that could cause variables and questions solidified, a computer that could last me 10 years, equipment that I don't have to upgrade again for years. And then also helping solidify my face and my identity and who I am as a caster. And I feel like that all that stuff should be more well-rounded by the start of our second year. So we can go into that with so many possibilities. I feel endless to an extent, within the limits of content creation. Of course.
Absolutely. Now, for people who have been listening to you talk and maybe aren't aware of where to go find you out there on the great wide world of the internet, where can they do it, Josh? Where can they find you?
Well, we are Hyrule Gaming Group, and we're known also as Hyrule GG, capital G, capital G. You can find us on Twitter /Hyrule GG. You can find us on Instagram /Hyrule GG, twitch.tv/Hyrule Gaming Group. The only one that's different there. And aside from that, we also have a YouTube, Hyrule Gaming Group. So those are our main outlets. And if you catch yourself at the Twitter or on the Instagram, you should be able to be redirected to most of our other socials out there as well.
Awesome. Well, I'll have, again, the links in the show notes and Facebook page and website on my part. So that way, if you've listened and you want to check out Josh on HGG, he streams every morning from 7 o'clock until about 2 or 3, give or take.
Yeah, about 8 hours on average is definitely the goal.
All right, so you can find him, and that's Eastern Standard Time. So if you are anywhere in the future or the past of that, we'll have to work that out. But I'll try and make a note of that. Josh, you're welcome anytime on the podcast. If you ever want to come back, just let me know and we'll do something else. But it's been, again, my pleasure to not only have you on the podcast, but get to be a part of your community.
Oh, the pleasure is definitely all mine. The honor is all mine. I actually kind of make a point to listen to a couple of your updates throughout the month or throughout the year, and I also have been starting to kind of poke towards your Twitch and check out your Twitch channel and some of the stuff you're doing there. So I feel very honored to be here. I love what you do. I love the setup and the opportunity to speak. Of course, as I said, I'm a wordy fella, and I'll take you up on that. I'm sure that our journey is just beginning, and we'll have plenty to talk about here. Maybe in another year. Who knows?
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/talesfromthefandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.